The Running Man. Yes, that's right, folks. It's that time again where we reboot a property that you are familiar with from the 80s and just watch as it does something new or whatever. Something I've been thinking about a lot with these types of movies, and by this type of movie I mean let's reimagine a story you're familiar with that a whole other generation grew up watching, and because they know what it is, it somehow culturally imprints on them that they're nostalgic for it, so we should reboot it again. I don't think we need to do that anymore. I genuinely don't. I think we've reached a point where doing another Running Man movie isn't adding anything to the discourse of the Running Man as a concept. That first movie with Arnold, I've seen it. I don't remember a single thing about it. It wasn't even considered a good Arnold movie at the time. So I don't think it means anything to reboot it. At the same time, if you're going to reboot any movie, why not reboot one that used to be bad? You know, if the original is a bad movie, let's try it again. That's how we should be doing these things. So, The Running Man. This is the new film from director Edgar Wright. And I haven't talked a lot about Edgar Wright. I did an old podcast about him years ago when Last Night in Soho was coming out. And I'm going to reiterate kind of what I was saying there here. He's not my guy, and I don't like any of his movies. There isn't a single Edgar Wright movie I'd give more than a 7 out of 10. I don't consider him a great filmmaker. He's not one of the greats in my opinion. I think he would never call himself one of the greats. And I've always found him to be very sauceless. Like, there's nothing except some pretty good visuals and camera choices being made. Sometimes the score is cool, but bad scripts, the jokes never work for me. It's a world I don't like spending time in as an Edgar Wright movie. And saying that, this is somehow one of the lesser Edgar Wright movies in my opinion. I don't know what went wrong here, if anything did go wrong, but there's like nothing going on in this thing. It wants to have its cake and eat it too by being a dark, gritty, serious reboot of The Running Man, taking more inspiration, I guess, from the Stephen King story as opposed to like the campy flavor of the Arnold movie. But then it wants to be lighthearted in tone as well. And it doesn't strike the balance between either of those well. Go full dark dystopian, make it a Black Mirror episode, or go lighthearted campy where we're making fun of stuff. If you want to spend countless moments of this movie making fun of television and the Kardashians in particular for some reason, you have to fully commit to it. You can't just cut away from that to a dark dystopic world where nothing is right. You're not as clever as the Hunger Games, apparently, and I don't understand that. I use the Hunger Games as an example because I think that is a dystopian future about the haves and the have-nots, where it's about the entertainment of putting these people up on a pedestal and making them fight each other. And I use that because that is what it is for my generation. That is looking at how there's classism and social structures that are broken and not well represented in today's world. And The Running Man comes from a point in the 80s when like late stage capitalism was fully taking off, and we haven't seen fully the repercussions of that stuff yet. Today, 2025, when the book was set originally, this is nothing. And you're not saying anything, you're just more being like, oh, that's something we could talk about, as opposed to actually talking about it. You know, I know Fox News is bad. I know these like outcomes are terrible. The president sucks. You're not showing me anything I don't already know by making this movie. And I'm not saying a movie has to be about anything, but when the core conceit of this story is look at the spectacle that we do watching like these people kill each other on screen for money. You know, we're mocking something. We're making fun of the way the world is broken and lame. And you can't even do that right. You can't even do that properly. So that is a shame. And I'll say it again. I don't think Edgar Wright is the guy to tell that story. because I think he's a very apolitical filmmaker and a very asexual filmmaker. He is not somebody who wants to get sexy, wants to get dirty. He wants you to just to like turn your brain off and enjoy the thing. This is not a story for turning your brain off, nor should you have to turn your brain off to enjoy something. I hate that saying. I hate when people tell me, just turn your brain off and have fun. I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I physically can't do that. You shouldn't have to consume something. It can be smart and palpable at the same time, and this is neither of those. Really weird pacing in this movie, mainly because it can't choose its tone. Every single beat just feels so different than the last one, and you're like, oh, we're going to this now? Wait, when did we get here? Time has elapsed this way when he knew this guy? Why are we introducing this character now like they already know each other? The timing is so bizarre. And if there's any saving grace for this movie, all of that just loses its momentum in the third act and the final minutes of this film. Just falls off a cliff at the very end. I don't know what they were thinking. Well, I do know what they were thinking, actually. I just don't know why you would attempt it this way. I don't think Stephen King is a very, like, hashtag hopecore kind of writer. He doesn't make stuff that's like, at the end of the day, humanity's pretty great. He's not like that. He's not like that. So this movie shouldn't really try to go for the happy ending. It should be more about, like, I guess it's not about the individual. You have to make an example of stuff and become the martyr. That's what it should be. The movie doesn't want to play that route and loses itself for that. So there's just a really weird script, weird pacing choices, tonally all over the place that don't really add up to anything. The effects are very mixed. There's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff. For the most part, I would say the score and the soundtrack and the, I don't know, camera work is pretty good. Subpar stuff from Wright, but it's still a competent filmmaker making something that's whatever. But this might be the biggest test for actor Glen Powell yet. He's not attached to a Tom Cruise movie. He's not rebooting Twisters. This is him playing against type in a big action movie that could cement him as one of the stars of today. Is that going to be the case? I don't really know. He doesn't play his usual character in this movie. He's not doing like the Southern bastard, the charming Texan who's a little smooth talking and a rascal. He is angry, hates the world around him, and is just doing this for his daughter. You could have a different read than me, but Glen Powell doesn't read as a guy who has kids on screen. I don't buy it. And his whole motivation, this being his daughter, doesn't feel believable coming from this guy. I think he's just got too much of a dick face. No offense to Glenn. I think he's a fun actor. He's one of the newest stars that we could see anointed into being an actual star. But you don't read as somebody. Now he reads as somebody who is sexual on screen. But that's like Twister sexy, where it's like raining and he's in a cowboy hat. Not like an everyday charming family man who's rooted against society in the worst ways. He doesn't read like that. Probably his worst leading man performance. I don't think there's many people for him to play off of that are doing the same thing as him. So when he gets angry, it's sort of believable. It's not fully believable. But I want to see more from him. Like, thinking of another star who could pull off this role, my mind only went to Lee Pace, who is another guy in this movie, and Taron Egerton. And I think with both of those guys, there's a more like everyman quality where Powell has just sort of steered away from being an everyman. Just quietly became, well, I'm anointed by Tom Cruise, so I'm not really like a normal guy now, am I? Just quietly. Just quietly. I love Glen Powell. I respect him. I think he's very aware of his star persona and is willing to do things like this for the sake of a movie like this getting made. I don't think he works for the repertoire of Edgar Wright, nor do I think this is the type of story he's going to focus on after this movie comes out. We'll have to see. He's making that weird Hulu show right now called Chad Powers. Nobody's watching it, but it's out there. So we'll see where his priorities go after this movie doesn't do well at the box office. Emilia Jones is in this for a bit. She's fine. Again, Edgar Wright is never going to be a guy I say writes women great. Jamie Lawson's the other female character in this. She plays Glen Powell's wife. It's just the thankless role of being the supporting wife who doesn't have anything to do. But she's beautiful, and I'm happy to see her on screen. there's not really much to this, is there? I mean, I think the people who are having the most fun. Michael Cera is somebody who knows how to be in an Edgar Wright movie, knows the energy, plays great contrast to that because of how he presents, and just does some fun stuff. His character has the weirdest introduction because his introduction's like we met him already, and he's like somebody who exists in this world as a character we should know, but he's not like that. So it's kind of weird. His story ultimately, I wouldn't say goes anywhere. And then Coleman Domingo plays the TV host. I love Coleman. I think he's great. I'll watch him do anything. He's going to be Michael Jackson's dad soon. I think he's fantastic. He's having fun. I like that. Josh Brolin is just quietly a really strong actor who just will show up and be the bad guy. Those are veneers, right? They're very distracting. I can't remember what his teeth look like in Weapons, but man, did he just look fake. I think that's in character for what the character he's playing is supposed to be. Whew, man. It's really interesting to see like all these actors play off of Powell because they all feel more like they belong in this world than he does. Oh, also, Katie O'Brien is one of the other running men. When is she going to get a good role? I feel like she's friends with Glenn now. Like, they've done a couple things together at this point. So, maybe she'll, I don't know, get a good role eventually. I'd like to see it. And, yeah, Lee Pace, like I did say, he's in this. It's fine. His role is so mumbled towards the end, and you're just like, yeah, man, what are we doing here? If you can't get the simple premise like to feel authentic as opposed to just feeling cliched, boring, and on the nose, then there's no reason to do this movie fully. And I think that's just the most tragic thing about this is the dialogue is trying to sound smarter than it is, where the stuff you are saying, we have to take down the evil networks. I'm like, yeah, you don't think the audience watching this knows that? But at the same time, maybe they don't, because audiences are stupid. And the most unbelievable part of this movie, in my opinion, is that when the mega news corporation is revealed to be evil and hurting people intentionally, the audience that's watching boos them. That doesn't seem realistic to me. So maybe this is a fantasy world. It's not like today, but it kind of, look, whatever. It falls apart. You know, I don't even think Stephen King would say it's like a perfect metaphor that holds up for today, but it kind of is at the same time. It's just such a bloated mess that almost has nothing to say. It's a little long in the tooth. It goes on for way too long with the story that we're telling. And if I'm not excited about how the action is looking, there's your biggest fault. If you can't get the action to look great, have you accomplished anything? Very weird. Just a weird, stagey story. I don't know. It feels so contrived. And that's such a problem. But it's supposed to be a TV show, so the fact that it feels fake, I guess, works in its favor or whatever. I'll just say this before we wrap up. There are rumors that Edgar Wright is tackling Barbarella next. And as somebody who is a massive Barbarella fan, I've never been more afraid of a movie in my life. I genuinely don't think there's a single thing Edgar Wright could do correctly about Barbarella. And the rumor for a long time was it was going to be Sydney Sweeney. And I'm just like, God, if you give me the double hitter of Sydney Sweeney and Edgar Wright Barbarella, I'm going to cry and get so pissed off. So please, make an original story. You are your best when you're not touching other stuff. But Scott Pilgrim's pretty good, so I don't know what I'm saying. Just a really nothing movie that has nothing to say or do or feels authentic. This was a quick turnaround. I know Edgar Wright talked about how like this was just like a quick product to get out there. Glad you wasted everyone's time. So, The Running Man, I'm going to give a 5 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.